Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining the Okotoks podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Carlin. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my family, my kids know you as the beer guy. There's no doubt a lot of different names that people have for you, but I think the official term is you are a hawker.
It is correct. We're called hawkers, or we're called vendors, or because it's literally on the back of our uniforms at the Saddle Dome, we're also known as beer guys here in Calgary.
Yeah, the beer guys for sure. Now, Kevin, are you like omnipresent?
I do say that if there's enough people at a sporting event to warrant a beer guy, I'm probably there.
You're there. Well, yeah, because we got the list. We got the Roughnecks, we got the Stamps, we got the Flames, and every once in a while you're at the Wranglers games, the Hitman games, and of course, the first and foremost, you are at the Dogs games.
I am. And other events as needed, and I've also done this all over Western Canada.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and you're good at what you do. Now, let me tell you this: it is not a real Dogs game unless I hear and see you slinging beers and throwing beers to people and walking up and down the aisles. There's just something about the environment that they've created at Seaman Stadium that your role there is is so crucial. Like it just kind of sets the tone as to okay, we're at a real like this is a fantastic environment. You know, you're walking up and down the aisles, you got your a few great slogans that you say to sell some beers, and my kids even walk away from the Dogs games kind of repeating some of the lines that you've said, Kevin. So we need to talk a little bit about that.
Well, I hope they're all G-rated, the lines that they repeat back.
I think their favorite line that you use is "Get your beers. They're colder than my ex-wife."
My ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that is one of the lines because it pops and people remember it.
Yes.
So I mean, I do have a number of them. Some are spontaneous, some are in the moment, some are obviously tried and true things that are there exactly for that. They're there in order to pop the crowd because I mean, really, nobody is there just to see me. Fortunate enough to be a small part of the atmosphere around the great atmosphere at Seaman Stadium. Baseball is definitely more conducive to that sort of thing, of my sort of thing, than other sports. I mean, obviously, we sell at many different types of events, but for me, baseball is the best event to work as a hawker.
Absolutely. No. And yeah, you do set the tone. You do add to the environment to see Seaman Stadium, and it's a great thing to have you come and do that. I know that. Well, just looking in, and correct me if your LinkedIn profile is incorrect, but you've been doing this since the year 2000.
I've actually been doing this since 1988.
88. So like that takes us back to the Olympics.
No, I grew up just west of Saskatoon,
Okay.
and everybody assumes that because I tell them that I started in February of 88, that it was an Olympic thing. But the arena in Saskatoon opened in February of 88, right before the Olympics. I was a starving university student at that time looking for a way to make some money in a part-time job. And I literally got the job because I knew what a vendor or a hawker was.
Yes. Yeah.
I got the story later because I actually know the lady, she lives here, that hired me. Uh, and literally looked me up and down, went, okay, he's 6'2", can carry a tray of whatever. That time it wasn't beer, I was selling food. And I knew what a hawker was, so that got me in.
Yes. Yeah. No, actually, it's funny because I didn't even know what the official term was that you are a hawker until we decided that we needed to get you on the show and interview you, and yeah, I because we just know you as the beer guy. So didn't know that the official term is hawker, and there's actually quite a history to hawking. Now, obviously, hawking at sporting events, I think they call you a vendor. I think that's the official term, but hawking is certainly has some history there. So you got into it, and you just like, is this your only job, or do you have another job?
No, this is my fun job. There are people in North America that do this as a full-time gig. For example, in Chicago, there are people that work Cubs games and White Sox games during the summer, work at the United Center during the winter, and do Bears games and the other stuff. But for me, here in Calgary, there just isn't enough events where it would make sense to do it as a full-time gig. So what I've done is I've actually been in concession management for a few decades and then moved over to the other side of it. And now I'm an operations manager for a small food wholesaler that sells to people like the Saddle Dome and like the Dawgs.
Okay, so that's a great connection then that you have
Yeah.
doing what you do. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's perfect. So what is there, like, I think you've already alluded to, you enjoy doing baseball just because it's conducive to hawking. I imagine there's times where could be difficult hawking at a Flames game, going up and down the aisle. You got to sit during the whistle and then get back up and do your thing during the breaks. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. So it's really is different in how you approach it. The Dogs and at baseball, it's more you can do long form stuff. You can do stuff, little bits where it's like 30 seconds or 45 seconds, really work with the customer if they're having fun and you're having fun. But in hockey, you have 15 seconds to, if it's a TV timeout, 75 seconds. And you're more focused on getting the sales, doing short, snappy things as opposed to maybe working and just having fun with a customer, taking that extra 10 seconds to entertain as opposed to just sell.
Well, yeah, you're right, because that's when we look at I've kind of dug into it a little bit. Sorry for the crinkle of the paper. It does talk about the banter inside of hawking and how important the banter that you do have works to help sales and to, obviously you got to be loud. Your voice has to carry, which you have a great voice for. But the banter, I've seen you banter a few times back and forth, and I think that gets everybody laughing. Everybody like, oh, well, maybe I should buy another beer as well.
Exactly. I mean, there's at the heart of it, it is about the sales for me and for whichever organization I happen to be working for. But it's also about putting in that value add. And that's one thing that the Dogs organization is great in recognizing that we are a very small part of the whole experience as vendors or as hawkers, as opposed to other organizations where we're just seen as a mobile point of sale.
Right, for sure. How long have you been hawking for the dogs?
I started doing a little bit with the Dogs. Gosh, it was about 10, 12 years ago. They had a gentleman that had been out there since the Dogs moved to Okotoks. And as he started transitioning away from doing that type of work, I came in and I would do big events. Then I would be more the secondary person. Then as time's gone on, and like I say, Darcy Fairbairn, who would probably be recognizable to a lot of the Dogs fans, just decided to kind of move away from that kind of work. And I took on more and more of the events.
Well, I would say that you, over the 10 years that you have been there, not to downplay any other member of the Dogs or anything like that, you are probably the most recognizable member of the Dogs organization just because you're always there. You've been there for 10 years. Like, if for my kids, if we were to line up people from the Dogs organization, I think they would pick out you first and they'd like, there's the beer guy. That's the beer guy. And
Well, thank
so
you.
I think that has a lot to say about you, because there's other vendors that probably do that don't get recognized, but you just carry yourself so well. You entertain while you're working. Uh, my kids always want me. I always try to do the Homer Simpson beer. Uh, the way that you do it, but I don't have the bass in my voice. So I'm like, I always try to do that, but I'm never as good as you. Don't get me, Doug, maybe my producer can make my voice a little bit deeper when I do that. So it sounds legit, but no, so it's, you are an part of the entertainment package of the Dogs. So we do, as a Dogs fan, we do thank you for what you do, because it is part and parcel with the enjoyment of going to a Dogs game.
Thank you. And I mean, I would say that I would probably think of Will Gardner as the number one person I would think of at the Dogs, but it's an honor to be put in that type of company for certain.
For sure. Absolutely. What's one of your most like when you're hawking at a Dogs game, are you following the game? Like are you so focused on what you're doing that it's kind of hard to keep track as to what's going on?
It really depends on the day. If it's a random Tuesday, okay crowd, kind of sunny, then I definitely do some look-ins. If it's the All-Star game, for example, and we're running like crazy, I look up and all of a sudden it's the fifth inning and it's 3-1 and I haven't seen any of it. I will say that during the playoffs, I cheat a little bit and watch a little more than maybe I
For
should based
sure.
on the sales.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What's one of your most favorite memories from doing a Dogs game?
Well, I mean, the easiest one was last August when the Dogs did the three-peat.
Yes.
I was done my work because I'm done usually in the seventh or eighth innings. And I was just going down to say hi to a couple of season ticket holders when the winning home run was hit. So I was actually able to see that.
Yes. Yes, well, I don't know if you're a marriage counselor, but my wife ended up booking holidays during that last playoff round, and we were a little disappointed that we were gone. We were actually watching it in a hotel room in Idaho, and oh my gosh, when Connor stepped up and hit that ball, it was unbelievable. Like what a moment for the Dogs organization. And not, I don't know how you top that. You know, you win a walk off single or what? Or it was a home run, wasn't it?
It was a dinger.
Yeah, and it was just what a moment that was, and yeah, we were all a little envious that we weren't there for that, but, we actually, we traveled with the Dogs this, playoff season, so we went like, we didn't get in their bus, we drove to Lethbridge for one game, and then we drove up to, Sylvan Lake for a couple games as well, but we didn't drive to Moose Jaw. I guess, we should
It's
have,
Mucha.
but exactly. No, it is such a great organization. We love having it right in our own backyard, and it's something that we never take for granted.
For certain, Okotoks has made the Dogs their own. And I really don't think that the phenomenon, which is the Okotoks Dogs, could have happened without having a home like Okotoks. I don't think it would have worked to the same degree in Calgary. It didn't before they moved. And really, I don't think any other locale in the greater Calgary area would have been the same as it being in Okotoks. There's just something about the community and the setting of where the ballpark is that has made it just such a wonderful place. Like I never take for granted when I'm driving from Calgary into Okotoks. It almost always takes my breath away when I'm coming down the hill, coming in from the east, and I see the ballpark complex.
Absolutely.
It's just incredible.
Yes, no, it is a great facility, and I think you're right because you look at the Calgary Cannons that they had some great baseball in Calgary for a long time, but they just couldn't sustain it. No doubt it has to do with the facility as well, but you're right. I think you put an organization like the Dogs in the middle of a city and it struggles. Like I do think, for example, it seems like the Edmonton Prospects kind of struggled a little bit being in Edmonton, but now I think they're on the right move. They've kind of moved it out of town. And the new name of the team is the Energy City Cactus Rats.
Yeah, I know that the whole concept with minor sports is to have a catchy name and a catchy logo to sell some merchandise. I understand why they moved away from Edmonton prospects. It doesn't resonate with me, but I don't think either you, Carlin, or me are the target audience for that particular name and
No, for
merchandise.
sure. Well, I look at the Saskatoon Berries, and when their name first came out, I'm like, Saskatoon Berries. But they're making that name work. They're doing a
Well,
great job marketing themselves as the Saskatoon Berries.
and I know some people that are involved on the food and beverage side with the berries. And when we talked about it, when they first named it, and it was like, what do you think? And I went, it's a little kitschy, but it works and it works in the community. And that's the thing. If it works in the home community, and they project that, I think it's a positive. I don't know if Energy City resonates with anybody in Spruce Grove, but we'll see. I mean, I could be
Absolutely.
wrong. Like I say, I'm not the target market for that.
Absolutely. I would imagine would have numerous stories about hawking.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's times that you have like tripped down the stairs. Have you ever injured yourself hawking? Like I imagine that would happen quite regularly.
Small injuries, yes. Large injuries, thankfully, no. Most people that have done this anywhere close to as long as I have had either back injuries, knee surgeries, that sort of thing. Literally, I was going to a game at Wrigley Field several years back and there was a Taco Bell that's about 3 blocks away from Wrigley. And I walked in just to grab something to eat before the gates opened and saw about 6 guys that had all sorts of braces and, like various things to help them out, all sorts of sleeves and stuff. And then one of them said, "Hi, you guys must be beer hawkers." And they went, "How did you know?" And that's because most of the folks I work with have various injuries or long-term stuff. I've been very lucky that my knees have not been hurt despite the billions and billions of steps I've taken. But there's definitely little times where you trip and you fall and dust yourself off and get back. But thankfully, nothing that stopped me from doing this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, you certainly could trip very easily. I imagine you have endless stories of dealing with the type of beverages you're serving some of the people, kind of changing their personality a little bit. I imagine every once in a while you run into interesting circumstances, but what a unique job that you do, and you do such a great job of it. And like I say, you are part of the atmosphere, but a pretty big part of the atmosphere there at the Dog Stadium. I think that was when we first, like, I wouldn't say when we first moved here, we weren't huge baseball fans, but when you go to that stadium, you sit nice and close, you're hearing all the noises, you're hearing the ball hit the catcher's mitt, the sound of the ball hitting the bat, and then all the other sounds, the crowd talking, the music, and the hawkers selling in the background. It's all part and parcel of the experience of the Okotoks Dogs. And so we do thank you for what you do.
Well, thanks, Carlin. Yeah, like I mean, it's one of the things I love about baseball is exactly that. Literally the smelling the cut grass. Like I will come in early and watch batting practice just because it's just a feel and a vibe that you don't get in any other sport. And then again, during the events, it's something that hockey, lacrosse, football, there's nothing like baseball for doing the job that I love to do.
Absolutely. There isn't, a lot of times you go to a hockey game, you go to a different sporting event, lacrosse, it's very hard to visit as well, right?
Yeah.
But, you meet a buddy, it's easy to visit during a baseball game. Hockey, the music comes on, it's so loud or whatever. Of course, starting to show my age, I guess. But it's just such a great an environment that's conducive to visiting with the people that you're there with, enjoying the game, having a dog, having a beer, and just enjoying the great weather. Now we've sat through some pretty extreme weather at Seaman Stadium. No doubt the beer sales go down when it's rainy and cold. You probably get to go home a
Absolutely.
little bit early those days, but on those hot days, and there's nothing.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm lucky enough that I've been able to make connections with people, again, more at the baseball than anywhere else, who I consider friends, who I also sell to or I talk to. There's probably 15 to 20 people a night at a regular Dogs game that I talk to and say hi and check in on that don't buy beer from me because it really is that family feel and connectivity that comes from the way baseball is. And you can chat with people and talk to people throughout the game, and you're not worried about missing the one goal or the only one thing that's going to happen in a 2-hour game. Because
Right. Absolutely. No, for sure. Well, Kevin, we look forward to seeing you this spring and into the summer. The Dogs season gets started on May 28th, but their home opener is Saturday, May the 31st. And so we certainly look forward to Seeing you there and buying some licorice, some peanuts, some beer, some pop off you this spring and summer.
Thank you so much, Carlin. Hope you and all the other Dogs fans get your beer here.
Right on. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, thank you very much. Which one do you want? Get the okay beer. Or get them here, get them now, get them before they're gone. Get your ice cold beer here.
See, I'm not as good.
Right,
Doug, if
right,
we can
right, right,
tweak that a
right,
little bit.
right from the back, right from the back of your throat, Carlin. That's
Yeah,
where it comes.
I got to practice. I got to smoke cigarettes and drink some whiskey.
Well, and I don't do well. Okay, maybe the whiskey.